The sun was slowly setting behind the horizon, painting the sky over Oak Creek in warm orange hues. Alex Thompson was walking along the familiar forest trail after a day at his auto repair shop. The cool autumn wind rustled through the leaves of the ancient oaks. The evening silence was only broken by the sound of his footsteps on the fallen leaves. Alex often chose this path home to unwind from the hustle and bustle of the city. However, that day Alex felt an unusual sense of unease. Even the clouds in the sky took on strange shapes, and the birds were flying low to the ground. The wind picked up and carried with it unfamiliar smells. Alex noticed that the forest animals were acting strangely. Squirrels quickly ran away as he approached. A deer he encountered on the trail froze in place. Even the crows on the trees had fallen silent. There was a strong tension in the air. Suddenly, a strange sound came from somewhere far away, like a moan. Alex stopped and listened. The sound repeated, closer this time. A chill ran down his spine. Something told him that this sound did not belong to any of the usual forest creatures. The thick canopies of the trees barely let through the last rays of the setting sun. The shadows were growing longer and denser. Every bush, every tree took on sinister shapes. Alex quickened his pace, trying to stay on the familiar path. A sudden gust of wind brought a smell that seemed completely foreign to this forest. It was a heavy, animalistic smell, reminding him of zoo cages. Alex felt the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. Something strange and even sinister was definitely happening in this forest. Ahead, a shadow flickered, too large for the local animals. It moved slowly, like a wounded creature. Alex slowed his step, peering into the dim light. His heart pounded in his chest. His hands grew sweaty with anxiety. The dry leaves underfoot rustled treacherously with every step. Alex tried to walk as quietly as possible. Somewhere nearby, a branch snapped. The man quickly turned his head toward the sound. In the twilight, everything seemed distorted and unreal. Low clouds blocked the last rays of the sun. The forest grew even darker. Alex took out his phone to turn on the flashlight. The screen showed no signal. This was strange. Usually the connection worked fine here. A new sound made him flinch. It was like the heavy, labored breathing of a large animal. The sound was getting closer. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. His whole body tensed from a sense of danger. Something gleamed ahead in the darkness. It looked like a reflection in large eyes. Alex froze in place. His legs felt as if they were rooted to the ground. The creature in the darkness also stopped. It was huge. Alex tried to calm his breathing. His mind refused to believe his eyes. In the gap between the trees, he could make out a silhouette that could not possibly belong to a local animal. It was something much larger and more dangerous. The creature took a step forward. The moonlight, breaking through the clouds, illuminated a massive head with a thick mane. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. In front of him stood a lion, a real African lion in the middle of the forests of Wyoming. His first instinct was to run. Alex slowly backed away. His muscles tensed, ready for a sudden movement. But something about the lion's behavior stopped him. The predator didn't look aggressive. On the contrary, it seemed exhausted and weak. The lion swayed as if it was hard for him to stand. His fur was dirty and matted. His ribs were clearly visible under his skin. Old scars could be seen on his side. This was clearly not a wild animal, but someone's captive who had managed to escape. Alex noticed a worn collar on the lion's neck. The metal gleamed dully in the faint light. The old collar around the lion's neck indicated that this predator had been in captivity for some time. But how had he ended up here, in the middle of the wilderness, far from humans? The animal let out a quiet moan. There was pain and exhaustion in its eyes. Alex felt his fear being replaced by compassion. In front of him was not a fearsome predator, but a suffering animal in need of help. Alex slowly took off his backpack, trying not to make any sudden movements. The natural fear of the enormous predator gripped his entire body. The lion watched every move the man made. There was wariness in the animal's amber eyes. In his backpack was a turkey sandwich that Alex hadn't had a chance to eat at lunch. He carefully took it out, unwrapping the rustling paper. The smell of food made the lion lift its head. There was a glimmer of interest in its eyes. With trembling hands, Alex broke the sandwich into pieces. He placed the largest piece on the ground and slowly backed away. His heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might leap out of his chest. The lion sniffed at the food. The predator's movements were slow and cautious. He approached the offering, constantly glancing at Alex. Hunger overcame fear, and the lion quickly swallowed the offered food. There was an almost pleading expression on his face. Then Alex took out a bottle of water. He unscrewed the cap and fashioned an improvised bowl from the bottle. After filling it with water, the man backed away again. The lion eagerly drank all the water. His tongue quickly lapped up every drop. After the food and water, there was a noticeable change in the lion's behavior. His gaze became more focused. The tension in his powerful body seemed to ease a little. He took a few steps to the side, as if inviting Alex to follow him. Alex knew that the lion needed to be taken to a vet. There was a modern clinic in the city that could help the animal. He attempted to lead the lion toward the city, but the animal persistently moved in the opposite direction. Suppressing another wave of panic, Alex decided to follow the animal. The thick bushes ahead seemed impassable in the growing darkness. The lion walked confidently ahead, often glancing back at Alex. There was a strange determination in his eyes. He clearly knew where he was going and wanted to show something to the man. The twilight was deepening by the minute. Alex stumbled over tree roots, barely seeing the road. The lion moved slowly, as if adjusting to his pace. Sometimes he would stop, waiting for Alex to overcome particularly difficult parts of the path. They had been walking for about half an hour. The forest was gradually thinning out. A strange smell began to seep through the trees, a mix of metal, old straw, and something animal-like. Alex felt a growing sense of unease. Something told him that they were approaching the answer to how the lion ended up in the local woods. Suddenly, the forest opened up, revealing an old dirt road. The ruts, overgrown with tall grass, were barely visible in the twilight. The air here was different, heavy, with a mix of unfamiliar odors. Alex stopped, trying to get his bearings. The moon came out from behind the clouds, casting a ghostly light on an abandoned area ahead. In the dim light, the outlines of dilapidated buildings could be seen. Old posters, faded and torn, flapped in the wind. Metal structures creaked ominously. In front of them lay a deserted circus. A large tent, once bright and festive, now looked pitiful. Its faded and torn canvases hung sadly from rusted poles. The wind blew scraps of old programs across the ground. The lion quickened his pace, heading for the circus buildings. His tail was tense, ears pressed to his head. Alex followed, feeling each step echoing in the oppressive silence. Broken glass crunched underfoot. The unpleasant smell was getting stronger. The metallic taste in the air was now mixed with the heavy stench of unclean cages. Alex heard faint sounds, moans and rustling coming from the darkness. His heart tightened with a sense of dread. The lion stopped in front of a row of cages, partially hidden in the shadows. His eyes glowed in the dark, reflecting the moonlight. Alex pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam of light revealed a horrifying scene. In dirty, rusty cages, animals were languishing. Their eyes glinted dully in the flashlight's beam. Tigers, as exhausted as the lion, lay motionless. Bears swayed apathetically, showing signs of long confinement. Monkeys huddled in the corners of their cages, desperately trying to stay warm. Alex slowly moved along the rows of cages, lighting each one. The scene grew more horrifying with every step. In the far corner of the area, he saw 2 elephants chained with heavy chains. Their skin was dry and cracked, their eyes lifeless. It became clear that the circus owners had abandoned the animals to their fate. The cages were filthy, with no food or water. Some animals looked sick, others so weak they could barely move. The lion had brought him here for a reason. He was seeking help, not just for himself. At that moment, the lion let out a quiet growl, as if confirming Alex's thoughts. His gaze was filled with unspoken plea. He had fulfilled his mission, delivering the man to his suffering companions. Now, everything depended on Alex. Alex quickly pulled out his phone. His hands trembled with excitement and anger. Luckily, there was a weak signal here. He dialed the rescue service, trying to speak clearly and calmly. The dispatcher listened carefully to his confused story about the abandoned circus and the neglected animals. As he gave the location's coordinates, a faint moan from the farthest cage made him shudder. A tigress was trying to stand but couldn't hold herself up. Alex knew that many of the animals needed urgent help. Every minute of delay could cost them their lives. While waiting for the rescuers, he decided to inspect the area. In a utility room, he found some leftover food and a few barrels of water. Alex began systematically going from cage to cage, giving the animals water and the remaining food. Some were so weak they could barely eat. After what felt like hours but was actually 2, the sound of approaching vehicles could be heard in the distance. The headlights pierced the darkness. Police officers, veterinarians, and animal rescue workers arrived on the scene. Powerful floodlights illuminated the circus grounds, revealing the full scale of the tragedy. The rescue operation began immediately. Veterinarians in protective suits entered the cages to examine the animals. Many needed urgent treatment. 4 drips with nutrients were set up right on the spot. Rescuers worked with hydraulic tools, cutting through the rusted locks on the cages. The elephants were particularly difficult to deal with. Their chains had cut deep into their skin, leaving painful wounds. Special equipment was needed to free these giants. Veterinarians immediately began treating their wounds while transport was prepared to move them. In the circus office, the police found documents that shed light on the situation. The owners, facing severe financial problems, had decided to close the circus. However, instead of ensuring the animals received proper care, they had simply taken all the money and disappeared, leaving their charges to die slowly. The paperwork was full of violations: fake veterinary certificates, falsified financial reports, and the absence of necessary permits. The owners had cut costs on everything, from food to medical care. The animals had been living in unacceptable conditions for a long time. The rescue operation lasted all night. Specialized trucks with veterinary equipment transported the animals to rehabilitation centers one by one. Some had to be moved on stretchers. They were too weak to walk on their own. By dawn, the grounds were empty. Only the empty cages remained, silent witnesses to human cruelty. The lion who had led Alex to the circus turned out to be a former star of the arena named King. He was the only one who had managed to escape his cage, and by sheer luck, had come across kind-hearted Alex in the forest. Now the predator faced a long recovery before he could begin a new life in a spacious sanctuary. Within the following week, all the animals were placed in specialized rehabilitation centers. Each received the necessary medical care. Slowly, they began to recover. After a course of treatment, they were sent to sanctuaries and zoos across the country, where appropriate conditions had been created for them. The circus owners were caught a month later in a small town in Mexico. They had a large sum of money with them. Soon they were brought to trial for all their crimes. A harsh sentence for animal cruelty and fraud sent a clear message to the entire industry. This case led to a large-scale investigation. A whole network of illegal circuses was uncovered, where animal welfare regulations were systematically violated. Across the country, inspections of traveling circuses began. Authorities tightened requirements for animal housing conditions and increased oversight to ensure compliance with regulations. The story of the animals' rescue received widespread attention in the press. Local and national TV channels aired reports from the scene. Newspapers wrote about Alex's heroic act. Thanks to his decisive actions, more than 30 animals were saved from a slow death. In his hometown, people began to recognize Alex on the streets. They approached him to shake his hand and express admiration for his bravery. The mayor of the town awarded him a certificate of honor. The Animal Protection Society presented a special award for his courage and compassion. King, the same lion, underwent a long course of rehabilitation and was moved to a large sanctuary in Texas. A year later, Alex received a letter from the sanctuary with photos. In them, King looked completely transformed, healthy and strong. His mane was thick and beautiful again, and there was a sparkle of a free animal in his eyes. Looking at these photos, Alex knew that his decision to follow the lion that evening had been the right one. Despite fear and uncertainty, he had trusted his heart, and it had saved many lives. King's story and the other rescued animals became a symbol of hope and proof that even one person can change the fate of many.